Hi, this is Barry Gazard from Team Niche Realty and BestSellRealty.com. Today, I want to talk to you about selling your home or property in a buyer's market. So, first off, let's clarify what a buyer's market is. A buyer's market, which is the opposite of a seller's market, is where the number of homes available for sale in a given market and area exceed the number of buyers looking for homes in that market and area. In short, in a buyer's market, supply of homes exceed demand for homes. This is usually evidenced by an increase in the number of months' supply of inventory. So, in this graph, which shows months' supply of inventory for the entire Atlanta metro residential market, from January 2012 to May 2025, a period of 17 years and 4 months, we can see how inventory dropped steadily from 6 months supply in January 2012 all the way down to less than 1 month supply in January 2022. So during this period, we saw a change from a buyer's market in 2012 to a seller's market from about January 2020, right after COVID hit. Looking at average home prices for the entire Atlanta metro residential market from January 2012 to May 2025, we see prices steadily increase from an average of about $145,000 in January 2012 all the way to a high point in June 2024, just over $525,000. That's a 250% increase in prices over 17 plus years, which tops out at over 14% average increase in prices per year, versus an average inflation rate of less than 4% per year. Not too shabby. But since the end of summer 2024, we have seen prices begin to fall as inventory levels begin to swell starting already in 2022. So a couple of things to note here. Firstly, there is a definite correlation between inventory levels and price changes. What we know is that increases in inventory levels will ultimately result in falling prices. This is because under these conditions, supply exceeds demand, which means that only the most competitively priced homes will sell quickly, while those homes priced higher, even if at market value based on a listing agent's comparables, will simply sit on the market until those sellers are prepared to lower their asking prices to match the new market reality. Secondly, there is a significant time lag between inventory level changes and price changes. In a market transitioning from a seller's to a buyer's market, this is because initially sellers will tend to resist the new realities of lower prices, and often buyers, seeing their options expand as available inventory increases, will hold off or negotiate really hard to get more flexible sellers down on price. Eventually, however, holdout sellers will be forced to capitulate and lower their asking prices as well, or else their listing will eventually simply expire and they will be back to square one, only by this time prices may have fallen even lower. So, now that we understand what a buyer's market is, what causes it, and how it affects prices moving forward, let's talk about bestseller practices to follow in a buyer's market. Point number one here is be aware of what type of market you are in or entering. How do you know this? Simply look at the month's supply of inventory. If this is increasing from month to month, then we are heading into or already in a buyer's market. and soon prices will start falling if they are not doing so already. Point number 2, adjust your asking price sooner rather than later. Remember, in a buyer's market, there is more inventory available for sale than there are buyers. So you want to get ahead of the curve and outcompete your competition and attract the maximum number of buyers possible right from the get-go, and you do that by being price competitive from the very start. Remember, increasing inventory levels mean prices will drop and keep dropping until inventory levels stabilize or even begin to diminish. But because of the price lag, you can sell now before prices drop even further by being price competitive. This means that if prices are falling by, say, 0.5% per month, and your average days on market is, say, 90 days, your asking price needs to be 1.5%, or 0.5% times 3 months, below what the comparables say your home is worth. Those comparables are already outdated, as the market has already and will continue to shift during the next 90 days while your property is on market. Worst case scenario, competitively pricing may occasionally actually result in multiple offer situations, even in a somewhat buyer's market, and can result in you selling above asking price. Now, wouldn't that be nice? So, this brings me to point number 3. While it is always important to have great marketing, this is even more critical and important in a buyer's market. So, especially in a buyer's market, I will advise sellers to go for a premium listing plan, assuming your listing agent offers multiple plans. Here you want your listing to stand out, to pop like never before. You have to separate yourself and your listing from all the other listings in the market. You need top-grade photos, great videos, drone shots, full color, multi-page brochures, online marketing, neighborhood postcards, and lots more. Point number 4, get your home in the best condition possible prior to the photo shoot and listing activation. Hire a home inspector or use a home inspection cheat sheet to identify and fix all issues prior to listing. In a buyer's market, you do not want your sale falling through due to deferred maintenance issues. Also, fixing these issues prior to listing is invariably a lot cheaper than having to fix them if they are only discovered during the due diligence and home inspection phase. And finally, point number 5, very important in a buyer's market. Budget a generous buyer broker commission or compensation into the asking price and offer that to buyer brokers. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about buyer broker compensation and who really pays that in this video, as I cover this somewhat confusing matter in depth in another video for those who are interested, except to say that from an economic perspective, it is the buyer who pays this 99% of the time anyway, because 99% of the time it is only the buyer who is bringing money to closing. And the only question is whether this is included or excluded in the list price shown on the MLS, but which may not be stated on the MLS. Either way, however, the chances are very high that the buyer will ask to include it in the sales price when they submit their offer anyway. Why? Simply so they don't have to pay it out of pocket at closing. If it is included in the contract price, then it can be rolled into the mortgage, if there is a mortgage, and 88% of the time there will be a mortgage. And by offering a generous buyer broker compensation up front, your listing will enjoy a competitive compensation advantage up front with buyer agents, who are the party who will have the most influence as to which listings their buyers get to see, make offers on, and ultimately end up buying. In all markets, but especially in buyer markets, offering competitive buyer-broker compensation is generally a very smart move for sellers. So, that's it from me, Barry Gazard of Team Niche Realty and BestSellRealty.com on selling your home in a buyer's market. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel for more real estate videos as they become available.